You ever wonder why someone who clearly has feelings for you, someone who you know thinks about you, still doesn't reach out? You know he craves you. You can feel it. The energy is there, the connection undeniable, and yet silence. No message, no call, no effort. Why? Because his ego is running the show. See, desire is not enough to make a man act. Feelings alone don't dictate behavior. If they did, he'd already be on the phone with you. But there's a battle happening inside of him. One part of him wants nothing more than to be near you, to talk to you, to be in your life in any way possible. But then there's the other part, the part that's terrified. The part that whispers, if you reach out, you're exposed. If you show her how much you want her, you lose power. Men are taught, directly or indirectly, that control equals strength, that the one who cares less wins. And for some men, that lesson is so deeply ingrained that even when they desperately want to reach out, they stop themselves. Not because they don't care, but because caring too much feels dangerous to their sense of self.
And here's the crazy part. He's not just holding back from you, he's holding back from his own happiness. The tragedy? He thinks he's protecting himself, but all he's really doing is protecting the distance between you.
And the truth is, many men haven't learned how to be strong without their ego protecting them. They haven't learned that real confidence isn't about withholding affection, it's about having the courage to express it. So instead, he plays this internal game. He convinces himself that if he waits long enough, maybe you'll reach out first. Maybe you'll be the one to close the gap so he doesn't have to risk his pride. Or he tells himself that if he keeps his distance, his craving for you will pass. That if he ignores it long enough, the feelings will go away. But here's the kicker, they don't. That desire stays, it simmers, it lingers, and yet his ego refuses to let him act on it.
And deep down, he knows the feeling isn't going anywhere. It's just sitting there, waiting for him to be brave enough to face it. But until he drops the armor, he'll keep mistaking fear for strength and distance for control.
Because the moment you start taking on the responsibility for making him feel safe enough to act, you start negotiating against your own value. A man who truly values you isn't going to let his ego stand in the way of showing up for you. He's not going to play games with his own feelings just to maintain an illusion of control. When a man is truly confident, he won't see his emotions as something to suppress. He'll see them as something worth acting on. And that's the kind of man you want. Not the one who is so trapped in his own ego that he convinces himself it's better to suffer in silence than to risk showing you he cares. So what do? Do you wait? Do you send that message? Do you give him just a little nudge so he feels like he has permission? No, you let him figure it out. Because a man who is held back by his ego isn't a man who is ready. If he can't push past his own pride, then he's not capable of the kind of relationship you deserve. What you do is you stay in your power. You recognize that his silence is not a reflection of your worth, but of his own internal struggle. And you don't lower yourself to match his energy. Because the kind of love you want, the kind of love that's real, that's mutual, that's built on strength and respect, doesn't require ego games. It requires courage. And if he doesn't have that yet, then he's just not there yet. And that's not your problem to fix.
You can't hold the door open for someone who's still deciding whether they even want to walk through it. And the truth is, if you have to drag him into showing up, you'll end up dragging him the whole relationship.
The more he starts to believe his own act, he starts to frame the story in his mind in a way that protects his ego. Instead of admitting to himself that he's avoiding you because he's afraid of what he feels, he convinces himself that maybe he just doesn't need you that much. Maybe you're not the right one. Maybe, if it were truly meant to be, it wouldn't feel so vulnerable, so scary. He rationalizes his fear into logic. And once he does that, reaching out to you feels even less likely because now he's built a whole case in his head about why he shouldn't. But deep down, late at night, in those moments when his guard is down, when he's scrolling through his phone thinking about whether or not to text you, when he hears a song that reminds him of you, when he catches himself replaying the way you laughed at something he said, those are the moments when the truth seeps in. He craves you, he wants you, but he's afraid to want you too much. And this is where a lot of women get caught up in the wrong question. You start asking yourself, if he wants me, why isn't he reaching out? But that's not the real question. The real question is, why are you waiting for someone who is too afraid to step into what they truly want? Why are you putting your power in the hands of someone who is still wrestling with their own fears? Because a man who is truly ready, a man who isn't afraid to lose control in the right way, won't let his fears dictate his action. He's waiting for you to chase. It's not because he doesn't want you. It's because he's trying to shift the balance of power in his favor. See, attraction isn't always about who desires who. It's often about who is willing to take action on that desire. And for some men, the real game isn't just about liking you. It's about seeing whether they can make you prove how much you like them. It's a dance of control, of positioning, of ego.
But love isn't a test you have to pass, and you're not here to audition for a role in his life. If he needs you to prove your worth before he shows up, he's already shown you he's not ready.
Irony? He probably does want you. He probably thinks about you, wonders about you, maybe even checks your social media, seeing if you're doing just fine without him, but he won't reach out. Not because he doesn't crave you, but because he wants you to feel his absence so deeply that you're the one who gives in first. Now, let me ask you something. Do you really want to be in a position where you have to prove your value to someone who already knows your worth? Because that's what this game is really about. It's not about love. It's not about chemistry. And it's certainly not about destiny. It's about control. It's about one person deciding that they'd rather be the prize than the pursuer. And the moment you play into that, you reinforce the idea that your attention is something he can just sit back and wait for. But let's flip the script for a second. What happens when you don't chase? What happens when you don't reach out first? When you don't play the role he's expecting you to? That's when things get interesting. That's when you find out whether he was truly interested in you or just in the feeling of being wanted. If he actually values you, if he genuinely craves you, then your absence will not go unnoticed. He'll feel it. He'll wonder why you're not the one filling the silence, why you're not the one making the effort. And if he never reaches out, then you've already won. Because now you know he wasn't interested in you as a person, just in the validation that your pursuit would give him. Let's talk about the thing no one likes to admit: baggage, the past, the weight of unresolved emotions. Because sometimes it's not about you at all. It's about everything he hasn't dealt with yet. Here's what happens. He meets you, he feels something undeniable, and for a moment he thinks, this could be different. Maybe you awaken something in him that he hasn't felt in a long time, maybe ever. But instead of stepping into it, he hesitates, not because he doesn't want it, but because wanting it brings up everything else. Past heartbreaks, failures, disappointments, fears, the things he thought he had buried suddenly rise to the surface. And instead of facing them, instead of acknowledging them and stepping forward, he retreats. Not because you're not enough, but because he hasn't dealt with what came before you. People don't like to admit this, but unresolved baggage is one of the biggest killers of potential relationships. He might crave you in a way that feels almost unbearable, but if being with you means confronting parts of himself he's not ready to face, he will sabotage it before it even begins.
And the sad truth is, it's not the connection that scares him. It's the mirror it holds up to his unfinished wounds. Until he's willing to face those shadows, he'll keep mistaking retreat for self-preservation.
Even when he craves you, even when every part of him wants to reach out, something inside of him is saying, don't go there. Because going there means risking being vulnerable again. It means opening himself up to the possibility of pain. And some people would rather sit in longing than take the risk of experiencing another heartbreak. Now, this is where most people get stuck. They think if he really wanted me, he would push through all of that. But here's what I want you to understand. People don't just push through things they haven't processed. You can't shortcut healing. You can't force someone to be ready. And that's where we get it wrong. We think if we just show them how good this could be, if we're patient enough, if we love them enough, they'll suddenly realize what they're missing. But it doesn't work like that. Readiness isn't about you, it's about them. No matter how much he craves you, if he hasn't done the inner work, he will find a way to keep his distance. And that has nothing to do with your worth or what you bring to the table. It's about whether he's in a place where he can actually let himself have it. And you are not here to be a fleeting thought in someone's head. You are here to be valued, prioritized, and pursued in the real world. The problem is, when you're someone's fantasy, it can feel intoxicating. You sense their desire, you catch glimpses of their interest, and you convince yourself that it's only a matter of time before they finally give in. But days pass, then weeks, and then months, and you realize it's all been in his head. He has lived 1,000 moments with you in his mind, but not a single one in real life. And that is where the danger lies. Finally do something about what he feels. But the truth is, if he wanted to, he would. What's really happening here is that he's choosing the comfort of his imagination over the effort of real love. Because real love is inconvenient. It requires showing up when it's hard, having conversations that might be uncomfortable, and making decisions that take courage. And not every man is ready for that. Some men would rather hold on to their fantasies because they don't demand anything from them. A fantasy doesn't require responsibility. A fantasy doesn't require change. A fantasy doesn't ask him to commit, grow, or step outside of his comfort zone. But you do, and that is why he stays exactly where he is, trapped between craving you and never actually having you. So what do you do with this? You stop playing the game. You stop feeding the illusion that one day he'll step up when his actions have shown you that he won't. You stop reading between the lines of his half-hearted texts and mixed signals, hoping they mean more than they do. You stop confusing potential with reality, because potential doesn't make you feel seen. Potential doesn't bring you flowers. Potential doesn't show up when you need someone. Reality does. And the man who is truly meant for you will never leave you in a place where you have to guess how he feels. The most powerful thing you can do in this situation is reclaim your own reality.
Because the right man won't need you to decode him. He'll make sure you know exactly where you stand. And when you stop settling for uncertainty, you make room for someone who shows up without hesitation. If this hit home for you, make sure you like this video so more people can find it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more straight-to-the-point dating advice that actually works.